Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a video on my thoughts on the episode Fires of Pompeii, which is really weird to do this because I really haven't done a video in front of the camera about a new series episode in so long, to the point where I can't even remember if I give it a numerical rating, which is quite arbitrary really in the grand scheme of things, and it kind of really annoys me when people are like, oh my god, you gave this thing a 7 out of 10, but it's a 9 out of 10, and it's like, well, yeah, but I'm verbally telling you in my reviews the pros and the cons, and then the number is just a non-essential arbitrary number that I'm giving it. Like, it really doesn't matter, the number. Anyway, in my head anyway, but again, I can't even remember if I give these videos numbers, or these, yeah, type of videos numbers. I do in my traditional reviews of Classic Who, Doctor Who, but I don't know if I do that with New Who. But yeah, my thoughts on Fires of Pompeii, what a story. I mean, I know Harry's Moving Castle, a YouTuber by the name of Harry's Moving Castle, I know he might feel like I'm, like, you know, taking shots at him, far from it. I love his Doctor Who videos, and that, but the thing is, I watched his most recent one of Planet of the Ood, and right at the beginning he was like, oh, the reason why I didn't do Fires of Pompeii is because it's filler, and I don't agree with that personally, but, you know, more power to him. He said what he was thought, you know, he was being honest, probably, I hope. But again, I don't really agree with that, because I do feel like this is a pretty solid historical slash sci-fi story. You know, yeah, sure, it's not the biggest story ever in the history of Doctor Who, but it doesn't really need to be. And considering it's episode 2, honestly, thinking about it, for an episode 2, it's one of the stronger episode 2s for sure, in my opinion. And it goes by really quickly. The story is, yeah, sure, it's simplistic, but that doesn't mean that it's not effective, which I could honestly say about most of the Russell T Davies era, really. It's simplistic but effective, you know. It might feel like week to week little stories are happening, but again, they always culminate in a bigger picture at the end, and it usually wraps up fairly well. But even so, just on their own, some of the episodes are just enjoyable on their own. You know, you don't need to know, like, someone, I watched this episode with someone and they said, oh, are the baddies from an older episode? Because we'd watched other episodes together, and they knew that sometimes when I'd watched an episode with them, I'd then say, or pause the episode, or say afterwards, after we'd watched it, you do realise that these baddies, the Ice Warriors, were from Patrick Tram's era, or this thing's a reference to that thing, and they'd just be like, no, I didn't know that, that's weird. Oh, I didn't know that, that's cool. But I knew that, and you probably maybe know that, but the point is, you don't need to know that, and I think that is cool, it's accessible, and that, which you definitely need for an episode 2, it's shakes up the Russell T Davies formula a little bit, because I'm thinking series 1, 2, maybe 3. I'm just thinking sometimes, well, I don't know, definitely series 1 anyway. It was Rose, it was the end of the world, and then it was Unquiet Dead, so it was present, future, past. Whereas I think maybe later on he did present day, past, future, I think. Or was it future? No, I think New Earth was second in series 2, and then Tooth and Claw. And then 3 it was like Smith and Jones, then it was the historical, and then it was the future, it was Gridlock. And then here, yeah, again we have Partners in Crime, we have Fires of Pompeii, and then Planet of the Ood. Anyway, yeah, the visual effects still hold up really well-ish. Like, they are dated, I'll be honest, but they're not as dated as you would expect. For 2008, I still think the visual effects still hold up pretty well, pretty darn well. The Paravel, are they called, I think? you know, and I like the design of him, like the helmet head type, the helmet like being like a Roman gladiator, and the molten lava and the rock. It's really a good visual effect and that, and they're not in it a lot as much as I would like them to be in it, but to be fair, it's probably because they are visually quite taxing to probably make, you know, simple as. I really love the guy who plays Dexterous Pectrus the Third, or whatever his name was. I can't remember his name, but the guy with the rock arm that, you know, the Doctor takes off. I like that guy, the Soothsayer, I think he was, or the Oracle type dude. He was cool. I like the bit where the Doctor takes the coin out of that kid's ear and is like, so, do you know where he is? Sort of thing. And then he's like, oh yeah, I'll tell you for the gold coin. Capaldi's great in this story, as always. It's cool to see Capaldi in this episode. After seeing him in Doctor Who as the Doctor, it feels like junk food. It feels like comfort food, not junk food. Comfort food. You know, it's reliable. It's dependable, and I adore the chemistry and dynamic of the 10th Doctor and Donna. You know, in this story, you know, she really weighs him down. She's like a nagging anchor. You know, she's an anchor, anchoring him down to humanity, and this humanity of do the right thing, Doctor, save some people, you know. And the funny thing is, I watched Father's Day before this one with Eccleston, and both stories tackle that theme of like, no, but you're not getting it. All of my people are dead. I've lost everyone. They're all gone. And I'm the last one, just me. And then it's about how the companion is like, yeah, okay, but please just save this one person, or these one people, and that, and also the idea that they don't get the fact that the Doctor, even though he's this mighty being and godly-like figure, he is selfless as well. He's not like the Master, he's not like the meddling monk. He is trying to do the right thing in these scenarios. He is trying to not go back and save Gallifrey and that, and you know, the selflessness of 9 and 10 to do that, and yet it's the companions who are like, but if you could do this, wouldn't you? And it's just like, then it's like, yeah, 9 and 10, Eccleston and David Tennant are like, if I could go back, I would, but I can't. There are rules. Time Lords have rules and that. And it's interesting because obviously, normally the Doctor never really follows the rules. And sometimes, yeah, the companions are intelligent enough, both Rose and Donna, in these instances, to call him out on that. You know, like, but this is a bit, you know, it's a bit bullshit. You make up all the rules, yet when I say, can we do this, you're like, no. But you can do it whenever you want. You saved me in 2008 in London. And he's like, yeah, but that was not a fixed point in time. That was in flux. I know that that's a time that I could do something there. I have wiggle room there, but Pompeii is a fixed point in time. I cannot change that. That has to happen. People have to die from that experience. Although, spoiler alert, he ends up saving Capaldi and subsequently his family, and it's like, it's so nice that he does do that, and even though all the other people end up dying, but what's the alternative? Everyone else dying in the world, you know? And I like the sisterhood, they're pretty cool, and as I said to the person who I just watched the episode with earlier today, I watched the episode with that person, and I said to him, like, the thing that I said to him was that I like the fact that there's that bit in the sisterhood where he's like, where they're like, oh my god, a man, this is a sacred place, sort of thing, for only women, sort of thing. And then he's like, oh yeah, just us girls, sort of thing. Yeah, just us girls. And it's like, that's such a cool, funny line, because obviously now the Doctor is a woman, so it's like, you know, all comes back full circle, really, you know. So I quite like that. I like that, because even though obviously at the time they would never have known that the Doctor would be a woman in 2018, it's just nice because now I have that going back. It's like, yeah, you will be a woman eventually, so who cares? You know, or the bit with the water pistol, that was really funny, you know. I'm armed. And he's like, with a what? And then she's like, I can see into his mind. It's not really a weapon. And it's like, well, yeah, of course not. I never got that bit. Like, they can see into time, yet they don't get that that's not clearly an actual weapon. It's like, yeah, but it's got a sting. It's like, it's just dumb. It's so, it rides that line between really dumb and almost pantomime and brilliance in so much as it, in so much of its sort of heart-wrenching themes, and again the Parleval sort of creatures are really cool and well designed, even though they're not in it as much. The sort of base in the volcano sort of things, decent enough. I mean, yeah, sure, the visual effects again there are a bit wonky, a bit questionable, but it suffices just enough, or just about, or enough that it didn't irritate me, it didn't take me out of the story, or maybe it did a smidge, you know, 5 or 10%, but the other 90% of me was just like, so what? You know, I get that it's like a underground sort of base, and then they cut from wider shots of like a CGI sort of interior lava-y sort of base, and then zoom in closer shots of like the baddie villain dude and the Doctor and Donna, and then rocks and fire everywhere, so it doesn't really matter too much. You know, I like the fact that Donna questions about like, oh, but am I speaking in Latin and in Roman or whatever? And the Doctor's like, oh yeah, that's the telepathic circuits, you're speaking in Latin. And then she's like, but what happens if I speak in Latin? What happens then? And she's like, the Doctor's like, oh god, you like asking all these very challenging questions and that. And then she does that, I think, or she tries to actually speak Latin. And then that guy thinks she's speaking Welsh or Celtic, which is like old version of like Welsh or something, and it was just so funny, you know. And then yeah, I think you have like, well, you don't have one death, but you have one on-screen death that actually matters. That one dude who's like, oh, the gods, and then there's this weird stance and then something, and then he gets burnt by a baddie anyway, so that was cool. The visual of that TARDIS bit where the Doctor's like, come with me, and the TARDIS light is just shining on him is just insane, even now, you know. I love the last bit, you know, say, Quintus, my doctor or whatever, you know, my son, the Doctor, Quintance, or whatever. Oh no, I'm just nurse training. Oh, well, whatever it is, just go say thank you to the household gods. And then, you know, he's like, oh yes, thank you, household gods. And then it's just like that stone tablet of Tennant and Catherine Tate and all. Or the 10th Doctor and Donna and the TARDIS as well. I love that image. You know, that's awesome. You know, I like the fact that we get that bit with the family as well. You know, they're all really good side characters. You know, the mum maybe is the weakest, maybe, or the least interesting to me. I really like, obviously, Capaldi. I like the kid, the guy. I like Evelina as well, she's pretty cool. I like the fact that the vapours give her this insight to the Doctor as well. And that, you know, the Medusa cascade, and, you know, even your name burns stars and that. You know, I ate that shit up as a kid. I was just like, oh my god, this is earth-shattering and mind-blowing. There's a bit that is a bit weird, is where the other dude, the bloke, he's like, oh yes, daughter of London, or noble daughter of London, there's something on your back. And it's just like, what? It just seems so out of place. Even now I'm just like, I get why it's there, because obviously the later story arc is to do with the weird beetle thing on her back. But I never really cared for that, and honestly, spoiler alert, I've never been a massive fan of Turn Left. I know that's like a really spicy hot take right at the end of this video, but yeah, I don't know, I just never been a massive fan of it myself, but I don't know. Yeah, this episode, if I had to give it a rating, honestly, I'd give it like a solid 8 out of 10. The music's really good. I really like the music. You know, it's quite catchy. It's quite of the period. It suits the scenes. The pacing is well done. It feels the film, the cinematography and the direction. It feels very of that era, and that is all I can say. It feels quite a bit primitive compared to now, but that's just because, again, 2008, man. It's been so many years since. It's just mind blowing. And it's an episode I hadn't watched in quite a few years, so again, I'd give it though a solid 8 out of 10. It's really good. I really like it. And also, Karen Gillan's in it as well. She's one of the part of the sisterhood people, so yeah, that was quite funny. But yeah, as I say, I'd give this episode an 8 out of 10. Please do feel free to comment below your thoughts on the episode Fires of Pompeii if you've watched it at all recently. But as always, thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe.